the right way. From literally the first call right the way through to the final handshake. Sarah here, aka the Business Fixer. So we all have those moments, don't we? The ones where your head feels foggy, everything feels heavier than it should, and you can't quite put your finger on why. And I had one of those weeks last week where I could feel I was getting stuck in my own head. So I did what I always do when I feel out of sorts. I journaled, I meditated, and I also got some fresh air by taking the dog for a walk. And I think that day the dog got more therapy than I did, but it worked. And there's something about slowing down that brings everything back into focus. It's a reset, a reminder that clarity doesn't come from doing more. It comes from stripping things back to basics. And it got me thinking how often that same principle applies to business, especially when it comes to how we manage our clients. Because if we're honest, most of us, things are harder than they need to be. We overcomplicate, we overthink, and before we know it, our simple way of working has turned into this maze of messages, meetings, and missed expectations. Sometimes the fix isn't more, it's less. It's about getting clear on what really matters in your client journey. So, what do I actually mean by client journey, right? I don't mean some fluffy marketing concept or a wall full of sticky notes. It's literally simply the path your client walks. Every touch point, from the moment they first hear your name to the moment you shake their hands and you part ways. Every email, phone call, and update tells them something about your business. Each interaction is either building trust or chipping away at it. And that journey starts long before your initial call with them. It begins when they first land on your website, or they've read your posts on LinkedIn, or they hear your name mentioned in conversations. So mapping that journey isn't about creating a fancy process for process's sake. It's about seeing where friction builds up and where clients feel looked after or left behind. It's about identifying those moments that make them think, yes, I am in safe hands, right? Why does this matter more than what you think? Because for service-based business owners, how you deliver your service is as important as what you deliver. Clients don't just buy the results, although the results is a big thing in terms of your marketing. They buy how you make them feel along the way. A clear, structured client process builds confidence. It gives them reassurance that you've done this before, that you know what's coming next, and that they can trust you to lead the way. Without it, things will start to unravel. You're firefighting, your team's second guessing, and your clients are asking questions you should have answered before they even had to think about them. And this isn't about gimmicks, it's about reliability. And reliability starts with process. So by the end of this, my goal is simple, is to show you how to improve your client process so that every conversation from first call to final handshake counts. Okay? So first of all, I'm going to talk about some of the common mistakes that service business owners ultimately make. Because let's put it this way. Most business owners, they don't set out to create chaos. It just ends up happening. And the busier you get, the less time you have to think about how things are actually flowing. Clients come in, projects move fast, and before long, you're relying on habit instead of structure. And one of the biggest mistakes I hear time and time again, and I've been guilty of this, is over-promising early and under-delivering later. That initial enthusiasm often leads to commitments your systems actually can't keep up with. Another common trap is you're treating every client as a one-off instead of building a repeatable rhythm that works across the board. Then there's, of course, communication, or in a lot of cases, a lack of it. Clients end up chasing you for updates, wondering where things are, and feeling uneasy about what's happening behind the scenes. Now, that I know, particularly in the legal profession, is probably one of their worst traits. I've seen it. In fact, I've even been guilty of it. And I hear about that feedback whenever I speak to people who've worked with law firms or have been clients of law firms. That is probably one of the most common traits. Add to that the classic issue of everything relying on you as a business owner, and it's no wonder you as a business owner are stretched thin. Your client shouldn't need a search warrant to figure out what happens next. These aren't just operational hiccups, they're confidence killers. Every gap in your process is a moment where your client starts to doubt. And once trust wobbles, everything takes longer, feels harder, and it will cost you more to fix. Okay? So, here are 5 ways that you can make every conversation count. The first one, start before they even call you. So your client journey begins long before a discovery call or a proposal, as I said earlier. It starts the moment someone encounters your business, your website, your tone on social media, even how your emails sound, or even a conversation that they are participating with somebody else. If those early touch points feel clear, confident, and consistent, you're already built half the trust you'll ever need. If, however, they feel vague or disconnected, you'll spend the first part of every call undoing any confusion that's been created instead of moving things forward. And one of the things I'm often saying to my clients is, by doing the things like your marketing right and your messaging and everything being consistent, what happens is then you're answering questions that they have before they've even had a conversation with you. You're potentially doing 70 to 80% of the sale before they've even had a conversation with you. So this is where this all kind of ties back into your marketing processes and everything. So think about this as a whole. So if you think about companies like Instant Drinks, their tone, message, and service all align perfectly. You know what to expect before you ever buy a smoothie. Your business can do the same. Number 2, build trust through structure, not charm. Okay? Charm will get you through the door. We all have met those salespeople that really know how to literally sell ice to Eskimos, and it's charm that does it. But ultimately, what keeps them in the room is structure. Okay, so when you've got the sale over the line, the charm alone won't hold things together. It's the structure that will. Clients will feel safe when they know that there's a plan, when deadlines are clear, and when updates happen before they have to ask. That's where real trust lives. So a solid delivery structure isn't about red tape or rigidity. It's about creating rhythm. The same steps followed by everyone every time, so your service feels seamless no matter who's involved. The rhythm becomes reassurance. It shows your client that working with you is easy, predictable, and professional. And when you lead with structure, you give your client the best gift possible: peace of mind. Now, number 3, map your client journey like a story. Every good story has chapters, a beginning, middle, and an end, and your client journey should too. Start with awareness, then interest, engagement, delivery, and follow-up. Every chapter should feel intentional. Every stage should answer one simple question: do they still feel safe choosing you? This is where you begin to see the real benefit of mapping. It helps you spot weak points before they cause problems. Maybe your onboarding feels clunky. Maybe feedback comes too late. Maybe your handovers are inconsistent, okay? Now, a quick way in which you can start doing this, you don't need a fancy software, but you can grab a whiteboard or a few sticky notes and simply walk through your process from your client's point of view. This is key. This is not your point of view, it's your client's point of view. And you'll be amazed at how quickly the gaps show themselves. Number 4, communicate like a partner, not a provider. And this is big, right? Because great service-based business owners know that communication is everything. You can have the best systems in the world, but if your clients don't hear from you, they will assume nothing is happening. And this is the key, is sometimes things might not be happening, but actually even just telling them that will reassure them. And if you're explaining why nothing's happening because you're waiting to hear from somebody, etc., that That builds that trust. And it isn't, like I say, just about communication isn't just about updates. It's about reassurance, those regular check-ins, clear expectations, and proactive messages show that you actually care. They stop misunderstandings before they even start. And I'll tell you what, silence is not golden when someone's paying you. So create a communication rhythm that feels natural. Maybe it's a weekly summary email or a quick Friday update call. Consistency builds calm. It turns "I wonder what's going on" into "I know exactly where we are." Number 5, finish well. What do I mean by that? Your offboarding is your next onboarding. Well, what do I mean? How you end a relationship determines whether they'll ever start another one with you. Too many businesses complete a project, send the invoice, and vanish. And I know that often, for example, in the legal world, a lot of law firms, they will look at it as it's a one-off transaction. They don't care what they charge the client, and they're not thinking about getting that client to return if there's another issue in the future. So you need to remember your final impression is the one that lingers. A structured wrap up, a thank you, a debrief, a request for feedback turns a satisfied client potentially into an advocate. It closes the loop with confidence and sets the tone for future referrals. Celebrate client success, not just completion. A thoughtful offboarding process shows that you value the relationship beyond the transaction. It's how reputations are built, and they're going to remember that. So remember that they're going to remember that final feeling that you've given them. They're not necessarily going to remember the feeling at the beginning or even all the way through, but they will remember that final feeling that you gave them at the end. And that's what you want them to do. So they then become a raving fan. So getting back to basics, remember where we started, that moment of hitting pause and stepping back. Clarity doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from stopping long enough to see what's really going on. When you apply that same approach to your business, especially to how you work with your clients, everything does become easier. Simplify your client process. It's not about micromanaging or losing flexibility. It's about creating a framework that supports you and your clients equally. It's the difference between chaos and calm, between firefighting and flow. So here's the question worth asking. Where in your client journey are you overcomplicating things? Okay. Now, if you want some help in terms of looking at your client delivery, looking at your client journey process, where you could potentially identify areas where it's working, where it's not, what's holding the business back, then the best thing that you can potentially do is book in for your business performance strategy session. It's a completely free session, and it's your opportunity to be able to reset in your business. Now, there is another opportunity that is coming, and that is at the end of this month, starting on the 24th of November at 12 o'clock. I'm running the 5-day business transformation challenge, and we're doing it the same style as what we did last time because it was such a huge success, where we are doing live coaching. So whether it's a question about your client delivery, whether it's a question about your sales process, marketing, or a number of different questions, this is your opportunity to get free live coaching with me. So if you are interested in joining us and getting that support, the best thing you can possibly do is comment the word challenge, and I will send you the link to join us. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I shall see you all